Morning Pyrrho, this is a response to your video about free will and control and determinism, and a kind of continuation of that. And I'm still with this thing to do with the kind of phenomenology of control and what it feels like to have agency. And I think you're right, in a sense, the overpowering sense of agency that we have, well actually it's not overpowering at all, is it? Perhaps that's the point. The vague sense of agency that we have that comes and goes and is occasionally misapplied, it's an odd one. Yeah, I think for me at least, approaching it from the level of what it feels like is more productive than approaching it from the level of physics. I don't know why we would talk about physics, if I'm honest, in relation to anything to do with consciousness. I think you have to go through chemistry and biology to get to consciousness. So it seems like you're missing out a couple of steps. Not you. I think one is missing out a couple of steps by going to physics directly. Anyway, these two things. What I'm thinking about here is specifically about, what would it feel like, A, to have total agency, and B, what would it feel like to have no agency at all. So I'm just doing the kind of thought experiment on, as I say, what would it be like if agency was 100% and we were totally in control of our experiences and choices, and conversely, what would it be like if we had all the sentience we have but no control at all. I think the first one, there's two kind of experiences that I can think of in relation to that. One is a kind of state of flow, the thing that Csikszentmihalyi talks about, or unself-conscious engrossment of that kind of feeling of total mastery that I think a lot of people get once in a while, which occasionally, if you get it, if it's very strong, it fades into almost disillusion of the ego. You know what I mean? Like if you are feeling you have complete mastery over an activity, like playing tennis or surfing or something. I don't know, maybe you surf, or whatever it may be. Any kind of performance. I know Csikszentmihalyi writes about it a lot in terms of things like sport. But also in business, stockbrokers, a good stockbroker on a good day has a sense of flow apparently. But in any activity it can be, woodworking, you name it, playing a musical instrument, that you just think, it just feels like you can do no wrong, that every move you make is absolutely the right move. So there's a weird paradox there, because it feels like you are in control and that control is absolute and you can do no wrong, but at the same time, and I've only had this a few times in my life, it is quite a rare occurrence I think, at the same time as you're maximising your mastery, you're also minimising the amount of possible choices available, because there is, God, it's so hard to describe this, isn't it? Certainly when I've experienced it, it's like you recognise the right way of doing it, not objectively but in a felt way. You recognise the right way of doing something and you completely align yourself with that way. So it does feel like you're on a track, but the track is your choice, and the track is your engagement with the activity, and is your ongoing intentionality. It's something like that. If that makes any sense. Yes, but that's at the moment when it feels in control. It feels like agency is total. The other, which is completely different really, from my experience, is lucid dreaming. I haven't had very many lucid dreams. I know people have them all the time, and I'm quite jealous of those people. I've probably had maybe 4 or 5 in my entire life. The experience where you wake up in the dream, or you come to consciousness in the dream, a bit like Inception. You come to consciousness, and because you're in a dream, you can control things. So there's that scene in Inception where the girl goes in there for the first time and she kind of makes the landscape fold up around her, makes the city street just fold up around her. I've never done that, but you can do things in your dreams like that, can't you, when you do lucid dreaming. And again, that's that feeling of total control, not just over your own body and whether you lift your right hand or your left hand, but what the physical environment does around you. You can affect the laws of physics. That's a feeling of total control. My experience of it is it's slightly different to the kind of eudaimonia flow state I talked about a minute ago, but interesting. Again, it's singular though, actually, thinking about it. Because being in a dream, but even a lucid dream, is incredibly solipsistic, I think. You know what I mean? You are in total control when you're lucid dreaming. When you're really dreaming, I don't think it's the case. You do feel that you're prey to forces and other characters in the dream, but when you're lucid dreaming, you kind of know you're the centre of the imagined universe and you can do anything. So it gets very solipsistic and very singular. You know, everything is doing what you want it to do, but there's only one thing that could possibly happen anyway, because there's only you doing it. So it's that, I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's a slightly, it is a variant, I think. Anyway, the opposite, which is what it would be like. What would it feel like to have no control at all if agency was an illusion, a total illusion, and you knew it was an illusion, and you were just kind of along for the ride? Yeah, I think the along for the ride thing is about right. I think you would feel like a passenger in your own life, you know what I mean? I think you would feel like that. That you weren't in the I've used the expression in the driving seat of your life before. I think it would feel like you weren't in the driving seat, you were in the passenger seat. And you were just being buffeted. You know, I was watching a Samuel Beckett play on YouTube this morning, Act Without Words. And there's such dark existential nightmares, his work anyway, but it's a bit like that, you know. It's a guy who's all his works is about people kind of being stranded, trying to do things, and or waiting for things to happen to them. I think it's I'm not sure if it would feel like that, but thinking about it feels like that. You know what I mean? If there was no agency at all, if you knew it was just an illusion, and you believed it. I don't mean you just knew it, because I kind of do know it, or at least part of me accepts it, let's put it that way. But I know I don't live my life that way. Yeah, it would feel like you were a passenger. It'd be like watching TV. It would be like watching a big TV set in 3 dimensions all around you all the time. You couldn't turn off, you couldn't turn over, you couldn't take your eyes away from the screen. There was no choices. Actually, I'm not even sure what the difference is between that and being in total control. It seems like it's collapsing into the same thing, doesn't it? Oh well, that's all I can think of. Look, Himalayan balsam, look. I love Himalayan balsam. That's this plant here, which is a weed here that was imported from the foothills of the Himalayas to be in Victorian gardens, and now it's a fucking weed that goes everywhere, look. It's quite pretty, but it does choke up all the rivers. It's great a little bit later in the season, you already know about this, because the seed pods on it, when it grows, you get quite big seed pods, and you just touch them and they explode. It's fantastic. Anyhow, that's it. Thanks very much.